podcast. We are doing the after the buzzer segment of the Poi N Soy podcast. We thank you so much for checking us out again on another episode. This week's topic, we will be doing another top 5 discussion. This week it'll be top 5 greatest centers of all time. But we will
LeBron James.
We're going to start off with a short discussion
already
piece.
know.
We're going to talk about something that has been going around the NBA for a little bit. And our question for the day is one that I accidentally backed away from. So I'm going to
Why are
find it.
you
Here we are.
talking like robot?
The question that I found.
I love you.
The question, so the question of discussion is your thoughts on the shift of power from NBA organizations to players in the league. As we've heard many a time in the media, whether it be amongst teams, amongst players, amongst the media themselves, it has been said that it is now a players' organization. I'm just going to spit it over to Jared. Jared, what are your thoughts as far as what a player organization means?
A player organization? I feel like they're the ones that actually run it now. Back in the day, I think we were talking about it, like how who was talking about it? I just remember somebody was talking about it based on the fact like they weren't too mad at what KD's doing because that's what the owner. That's what the ownership. That's what the ownership did to the players back in the day, and the players are only getting their thing
I
right.
said it. Damn it, Jared.
I don't know.
Hey, you know what?
I can't remember who said it, but
I got the
they
receipt.
might have right in
remember-
this room wearing a Shaquille O'Neal
remember-
jersey right now. I don't.
I just remember reading it somewhere. You know,
Dude, snaps, Jared. Snaps.
Snap.
Great.
I got the
point.
receipts. I got the receipts.
Hey, but
If
you
it
know what?
wasn't
It
in the
was-
pod, it wasn't said.
I know it was a great point. All I'm saying. I shout out to you, Nolan. I mean, there you go.
Hurry up and
You
say
want me to-
LeBron's your
You want me to,
top
doc-
five.
you want me to
No,
document my work? Nolan Cheng
Yep.
said it. There you go.
Jared,
There
that
you
was
go.
disrespectful. You started off with, I don't know who said it.
I don't remember, dude. It's been a long day, and Nolan wrote it this morning. For all I remember,
You're right.
So you read it?
Okay.
Did you?
I don't
You read it
remember
last night? I don't remember when
I'm
you read
sorry,
it. Yeah.
but explain
Continue,
your point. Your
continue.
great,
Yeah.
great point.
No, no, but I mean that's what it is, and like I feel like that's where it's come to the shift in power with the way the trades and everything and the demands of all the players in the last maybe 5 years or since the LeBron era, I guess I'll say, because the whole decision thing, like it's been a power pull of everything, and to not to per se build super teams, but to where the players want to play with their friends with who they want to, and B, it's like they have the ability to just say, hey, I'm willing to take a pay cut, or I want to get paid, so I'm going to go do something. I'll pass it to Nolan since I stole his points.
For those who didn't hear the point, Nolan, what was your point about KD?
The point was, and I believe Scottie Pippen brought it up when he was being interviewed, the shift to kind of how everyone's really upset and in an uproar regarding how KD's kind of demanding the trade. He's looking to be moved, things like that. People are, for the isolated topic of what it is, Scottie Pippen was kind of in agreement where let KD choose if he wants to be traded or not. It's up to the player. NBA teams throughout the years, how many times do you hear a player being mentioned in trade talks? Even if it's true or not, you hear them be mentioned trade talks. So it's like, if you're going to mess with a player's mental state while he's playing for your team, then why is it any problem for a player to ask for a trade and put the organization on note saying, hey, I want to be out of here. I want to get traded. So it's kind of like two sides battling between each other's. Yes, I think it is a lot more of a player's game, but at the same time, in my eyes, why not? I mean, you're the ones for the most part that are putting butts in the seats.
Fans in the
A lot of
stands.
a lot of times you're the one who's kind of giving them their revenue, whether it's memorabilia, jerseys, having people come in, say, this is my favorite player. They're going to buy your tickets. You are the face. Not all players are the face, but at the same time, a lot of times you do get a good group of players. Warriors, for example, you think of Steph, Clay, and Draymond as that unit together. they put fans in the seats. So
Some would say a
it is
dynasty.
topic for
Dun
another
dun
day.
dun.
No, but yeah,
Yeah.
there shouldn't be so much hooping and hollering regarding players asking to move to another organization or to be kind of released in some fashion, because sometimes it is just what's best for them. And if it is someone's literal well-being as well as their health, their mental state, whatever it may be, their how they feel in that team or about their coaches, they kind of have that right to make those decisions, even if fans don't like it, because the fans are the ones who are paying to watch you. Obviously you're going to be moving somewhere else because you feel it's the best suited for your life. So
Okay. Jalen, do you have any thoughts as far as the league shifting from an organizational league to a player league?
Thank you, Keone. I'm gonna tell you something right now, okay?
oh god.
I've been watching
I've been
basketball
waiting
for
for it.
28
I've been
years.
waiting for
Didn't I?
this.
28 years, okay? Never in my entire life have I seen such selfishness from this group of basketball players, okay? When are we going to start taking responsibility of ownership in this league, okay? It ain't on the players to make great teams and move around these parts of the NBA. No, that's on the owners. That's on the GMs. That's on the coaches. So if we let these players say, I want to do this and I want to go there, we're going to have a bunch of LeBron Jameses trying to make teams. And look how well that's gone for that young man. It ain't gone nowhere. And it's awful. It's awful. Horrendous. Splintiferous, if I might say myself. Okay? That's all I'm
Is that your
saying.
word of the day, Stephen A?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. No.
What does that mean?
What does it mean?
I have no idea. But it was in my picture dictionary this morning when I woke up and took it.
It was on
That's
my
how I
toilet paper word of the day.
No, I'm
I
kind
was
of
waiting
I
for
was
that
wondering
for
how long you were going to go
all-
with
You're
that.
welcome.
all day.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Well done.
But no, I am like I'm 50-50 on this, to be completely honest with you. Probably like 60-40, because I think players need to have an amount of power where if they are in a bad situation, they have a veto, some kind of clause. Obviously, that's on their agent to put that in there, right? Like I can leave if I need to because the situation is terrible for me, either playing off the court, whatever, right? I think there is that element, but I do feel like it's weird to me that we hold NFL owners so accountable for putting all these teams together and kind of gridlocking players. Obviously, we're going to talk about Baker Mayfield at some point, in the future. Um, but when it comes to the NBA, it's so laissez-faire for KD to just be like, yeah, I'm going to go down to, New Orleans for a couple seasons, whatever. Request a trade, do it now. And I think it's good in that sense that they have that kind of ability to kind of move that way. But I do feel like it hurts a lot of organizations that still suffer. And I will bring up LeBron as a point because no offense to the man, he's put together two dream teams or like picked his crop of the litter, and the orgs haven't necessarily been better off for it. And that's kind of the high end of like what happens when you give a player so much power in the say of who comes in and who comes out, right? And I think there is a middle ground to be reached where if there's a situation kind of like not like KD, but somewhere around KD's level where, listen, I've been here for 3 or 4 seasons, hasn't worked out. It's time to go. Like, this is not it. I thought I could get it done here. Let's move on. Let's go start somewhere new. So I'm still leaning more on, I feel like the owners should have a little bit more say so in putting together these teams than players necessarily, because players are very much, they're in their prime. Sometimes it's kind of more reactionary. I think KD is just being a little wine bag and wants to leave again and try to join up with the Warriors. That's my hot take on that. Sorry if you don't like it, but that's just kind of where it is for me on if the players should have more say so on trades or not. So
Yeah, I mean, for me, KD is a two-time championship winning beast.
Don't you really say?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna leave that.
We
In
got the receipts on that one too.
No, but I was
our
gonna
non-PG
I was gonna
edition.
say
Yeah.
because I think it is a bit of a salty deal because all in all, the NBA is a business. It is a workplace, if you want to look at it from that point of view. And you go anywhere in the world, A job is a job. You don't do your job, you don't want to be there, sure, you can leave, you're fired, whatever it is, they're going to find someone that's going to replace you right after to do your duties. The issue with how the NBA works, though, is if KD is my employee and he wants to leave, I can't necessarily say, yeah, go ahead, I'll trade you away, I'll find another KD. You can't just find another KD. And that, I'm
Right,
just using him because
exactly.
he's the
It's
topic today.
yeah.
So that's why it is a very big toss up between should it be a players league, should it be an organizations league. And I completely agree with Jalen where it is kind of a 50-50 split. You want them to have the power that they deserve, but at the same time, you don't want them to be le GM. You know what I mean? You don't want them
Mhm.
to be running, gunning your whole organization because when they do leave, and Jalen brought it up, LeBron has left teams in shambles. Um, and it's a lot of the times organizations are looking for the quick fix. What's going to get us a ring now? And Lakers, we're in for a long haul once LeBron leaves, and that's just the honest truth. We can try to win another chip, we can try to win 2 chips, but once he's done with the league, once he's left our team, it's going to be a reoccurring
What did I say?
storm that's just
It's
passed.
like second round picks in AD as of right now because
Yeah.
you guys ain't
Yep.
got first round picks and you don't got anybody besides AD signed for the
Yeah.
next like
So
4 years
players
or
deserve
whatever.
some power, but not all the power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in agreement with all of you guys. I think that obviously it's made a shift since LeBron did what he did. And it's not fair to say it was just LeBron because obviously Chris Bosh was a part of that movement as well. But when LeBron went to the Miami Heat, it definitely created a shift in the culture. It created this idea that I don't got to go where people, or I don't have to stay where people would like me to stay. I can go where I want to go, play with the guys I want to play with, and do what I want to do, which I'm all for. I actually think that there's a big difference between what he did then and what KD is trying to do now. What I don't like about the KD situation, and I have my reservations about how I feel about KD as a player in general, but from a professional standpoint, as somebody who obviously is working and kind of going through the rigmarole of a daily job, I think that it's the way that he went about requesting a trade after Kyrie had already kind of signed back, and after they or agreed to come back, and after they had kind of resolved that whole issue. The fact that it came out publicly, I'm not sure how it came out publicly. There's obviously a billion ways it could have. Maybe he mentioned to a family member, maybe he mentioned it to, the GM, and it kind of just sprung out once the GM started making calls for trades. But either way, the fact that it happened that way instead of kind of happening behind closed doors for me was my big issue with how he's handling it now. So this is where I think that toxicity of the players league comes in the spotlight because of what that can do to an organization. Because, like you
Hmm.
said, they can't trade him anywhere that they're going to get equal value because now everybody knows he wants off the team. Everybody knows he doesn't want to be there. So, at the end of the day, they can wait until the Nets get desperate and the KD situation has kind of gotten hostile or whatever. But like I think you made a great point that it is a job. So one thing I think that's really frustrating is when a guy signs a contract for like a 5 year max contract and he's 1 year into that contract, like this specific situation, to me, I think that you do kind of owe that organization some loyalty in a sense. Like, I think that's where I have my biggest issue is mostly when players are requesting trades when they're like a year or 2 years into a 5 year contract. Because that when they signed that contract, there was like a discussion that was had with the player, probably along the lines of, we're going to try to get you the pieces that we need to get you to win this championship. We're going to see what's out there on the market. We're going to see what we can find for you. No promises, but we're going to try to build a contender around you. And for those players, like it happened with AD, it happened with KD, it happened with so many players around the league that we've seen kind of leave their places, once in a blue moon or whatever, whenever it happens. Um, for me, that part of the players league is something I cannot get on board with. Like I do agree with the free agency. I think that them having the ability to kind of like, I want to go live in LA, I want to play in LA. Like, who doesn't want to live in LA and play in LA? Like, obviously, like if you could go there instead of living in Minnesota, like
Oklahoma.
you're yeah, exactly, you're gonna pick LA. But I think Yeah,
No
that's
offense to
where
anyone who lives in Oklahoma or Minnesota.
or
We're just
Minnesota.
saying.
Just saying. Just saying.
I'm just
Midwest
saying, if
gang,
you
it's
had a
fine.
choice, you wouldn't live there either. Just joking.
Wow.
Uh, I'm just
You
saying,
may
somebody
want to,
buys
but
you
you're
a
wrong.
ticket. I know somebody buys you a ticket and says, "I got you a home in Hawaii or California. Where you want to go?" You're picking one of those places. Just saying. Anyway, how
So
spoiled?
we're
No,
gonna
I'm
have
just
to.
joking.
I think we're gonna have to visit these places to make up for this.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I've
But
been to
Right.
Minnesota.
no,
Oklahoma, not too fond on going there. I'm good.
yeah. Um, but yeah, just in general, I think that for players to kind of lose that sense of loyalty to teams, not so much I mean, I guess it goes both ways. There is organizations that don't show their loyalty to a player, a year or two into the contract. I think the latest version of that had to be the Blake Griffin situation. I think they signed him to like a 5-year max extension, and then literally like the next year, or maybe even during the same year, I think by the trade deadline, he was traded over to the Pistons. So I think it does happen the other way around, but I think we're starting to see it more happening the other way. And obviously, you got players that are coming into the league expecting big contracts, and I think that mentality right there, that I should get paid, that I should be winning a championship within my first like 5 years in the league, is something that kids are getting spoiled nowadays. But that's my take on this whole situation. Anybody have any last lingering thoughts on this topic, or have anything else they want to share?
I
No.
like that we
Oh.
explored the high end for the players, but like the dark side
Mhm.
is obviously like for the org as an example, we can look at Baker's situation. Just it's a notable sports example of what happens when an
Mhm.
org literally imprisons you and you don't have really anything until the very last second. So I hope it's never back there again. And obviously, Michael had some of those issues way back when with that regime in Chicago, where he was fighting the owner more than he was fighting some other people. So I hope it never gets back to that point. But we got to start kind of figuring out some kind of. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere,
Yeah.
where an org wants to build something and the players also want to, commit to actually staying and building a team like Milwaukee.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a random thought, but because
Yeah.
you kind of mentioned something, I mentioned the Last Dance, but I always thought it would have been cool to see like a Last Dance esque version of the Lakers with Shaq. But
Oh,
we're obviously never gonna get that, so sad face. But anyway, I know. Anyway, I'm gonna continue the conversation into a happier note with one player from that team that I just mentioned, Shaquille O'Neal, being possibly in our top fives. Who knows? We're gonna start the conversation off with Jalen since his hands are up. Jalen, starting our conversation of the top 5 centers of all time.
I swear to God,
Who?
Jalen. I swear to God.
no, I'm trying to read my
He
own
can't.
handwriting.
I was gonna say he looks like he can't read his own handwriting.
Hang on. Yeah, I gotta
Who?
pull that list back up because I typed it on a Google Doc too, but I was trying to keep it shorthand.
So
One
should
moment
I
here. It's
shift it over
just a bit of
to
research.
no?
No, I think I have
LeBron
an
James.
idea because I think I made
Gotcha.
an O, but it looks like a Q. Yeah, that's